Welcome back, everyone, to this week 2 edition of Bruce Monnin's Computer Points podcast. I'm Bruce Monnin, your host, recording from the home studio here in Minster, Ohio. Also checking in from the greater Cincinnati area, home of the 1-0 Cincinnati Bearcats, who lost 20-17 to Nebraska, despite the support of Taylor Swift in the luxury box. Taylor is now on an 0-2 losing streak. Travis lost the Super Bowl last year, and now UC lost their game with Taylor and Travis in the box here. So maybe she's running out of football mojo here. But anyway, that brings us back to our co-host, executive producer, and chief researcher, Rebekah Monnin.
Apparently, I'm upstaged by judgy comments about Taylor Swift.
I love Taylor Swift. I just wanted to bring my Bearcats some wins. That's all.
There we go. Editing comment, you said 1-0, so we should probably not.
Oh, the 0-1 Bearcats, yes.
The 0-1 Bearcats. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty game to watch, I hear.
It was incredibly boring. It was, our Bearcats showed the ability to run the ball with their main two running backs, so the coaches let them run it a total of 14 whole times during the game, and instead threw lots of short little screen passes that went for no yardage all game long. It was really kind of sad.
Yeah.
They still had a chance. They got into field goal range where they could have tied at the end of the game, took a shot for the touchdown late, which I enjoyed because I figured they would miss the field goal kick because I'm your typical pessimistic Cincinnati Bearcats fan. But the quarterback threw the bomb to the end zone way short and way inside, and it was intercepted, so we didn't even get a chance to kick the field goal. Oh, well, it was sad. The New York Times, by the way, moved us up in their rankings after the loss.
What?
So I guess they thought we lost by less than they expected. But they also moved Nebraska, who beat us, up in their rankings, which I don't know how both teams went up higher. But
why is the New York Times ranking football teams?
That's a good, and they rank not just the top, they rank every football team, the whole 125 or however many Division I football teams there are.
Huh.
Cincinnati, by the way, was number 64, so a long way.
Yeah, I can't imagine we were up on the list.
However, this week, Saturday, which no one will notice because it's the same time as the Ohio State game, our Bearcats play Bowling Green, and Mr. Van Wright will definitely be watching.
Gosh, I really hope we can win that one.
Yeah. I would say that this is a big chance for Bowling Green. It's their first chance for the new head coach to get an opposing coach fired.
Yeah. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. Are we playing at Bowling Green or at UC in Nippert?
I'm pretty sure it's at Nippert.
That's good. So it'll be nice to have a home game actually at home and not 6 hours away.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? By the way, for those of you listening, this will probably be out later than usual. This is not Rebekah's fault this week. Rebekah was ready to go on time at the normal podcast recording time session. It was yours truly who was stuck on the road between Cleveland and Minster last night and could not make the podcast. So blame me, one of the minor annoyances of life. Fortunately, it was just a minor annoyance. I shall attempt to do better in the future. Next week looks a little iffy too, but I think we're good, Rebekah.
Oh boy.
Next week I'm in Dayton on recording day, but I should be heading home with like an hour or two to spare. So now, on other sports front, before we dive into high school football, I mentioned last week the Vuelta a España bike race is going on. It is now the halfway point. The second place rider from the Tour de France, Jonas Vingegaard, looks to be dominating this race. But as I said, you never know what happens in the Vuelta. You never know when someone's going to suddenly pick up the flu or something halfway through the race and everything goes crazy. But if you have any interest whatsoever in bike racing, tune in to Friday morning stage. You could probably tune in about 10:30, be about the right time. On the Peacock channel, they go up the famous Angleroo climb, which...
Angleroo.
There are portions near the top where the gradient is 25%. So for every 4
Ooh.
feet you go forward, you go up one. There's a technique that gets used sometimes by people going up to this spot. It's called paperboying.
What does
And
that mean?
that is where it is so steep they can't go straight up, so they keep going back and forth in like an S pattern up the road to try to
Okay.
keep from falling over because of the
Oof.
steepness of the bike. When I was a
Oof.
paper boy, we used to do a thing where we would see how far we could coast without pedaling. And if you kept turning the steering wheel back and forth, you could go farther. I think that's where the paperboying term comes from.
Okay. Two very different motivations and movement there.
Yeah, there'll be some guys climbing right up to the top, and there'll be a lot of people just hoping they don't fall off their bicycle to get to the finish line.
Now, is it legal for them to just step off and walk it up the hill?
It
It
is.
feels easier at that point.
As long as they take their bike with them, yes.
It's like
There
if
was
you
a
can't go fast enough that you have to like wiggle to hope that you don't fall over, maybe just like doing a half hour of stair climber exercises will be better.
that does definitely happen early in the year in Belgium. There's some races where they go up some cobblestone climbs that are
Ugh.
very they're very short but very steep, and the people at the back of the group kind of get stuck, and they all get off
Mm-hmm.
their bike and just walk up the hill. So that is legal. There was a thing at the Tour de France years ago where they were on a mountain in the middle of the country that has no trees on it
Mm.
because they were all harvested for shipbuilding back in like the 18 or 1700s. And
Bantu?
so Mount Ventoux, that is right. Very good.
Right.
And so it is very windy up there. So one year, the stage going up to Mount Ventoux, it was so windy they had to move the finish line down about 5 miles. And when they did that, they didn't move all of those nice barriers down that they have to keep the fans back. So there were all these fans real close to the road, and the cars couldn't get through. And when the riders came up, the motorcycles and the cars got stuck, and the bikes got stuck. And the leader ran into a motorcycle and smashed up his bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way to get another bicycle, and he just took off running, which is not legal. You have to bring your bicycle with you when you run in a
Yeah, I
bike race.
remember that one.
And afterwards, the official said, "We messed up. Let's just give them a break." So they, but anyway, so just a reminder: when you're in a bike race, you must bring your bicycle with you, even if you are running.
Fun
I
facts
can't think.
today.
I can't think of anything equivalent to that in a high school football game. However, can you, Rebecca?
No, they're running already.
You have to have the ball, right?
Not
Doesn't do you much good
necessarily.
to run across the goal line without the ball unless someone throws it to you.
I don't know that there's much there that would be equivalent. Can't take your
I
helmet
don't think
off.
there is.
Can't take your shoes off. I mean, I guess you
You get
could take your shoes
you
off.
could
It
take the
sounds like a bad
shoes off.
idea.
Helmet you get in trouble for. That's a penalty. I just saw some college game they got penalized for that too. Someone lost their helmet and continued on trying to make the tackle, and that is illegal. You get a 15-yard penalty if you try to keep playing without a helmet on, which makes sense. You don't want people running around making tackles with no helmet on.
It's already got
Oh,
way too many traumatic brain injuries.
yeah, we don't need any more. That's for sure. Back to high school football, however. For the podcast here, I made the executive decision. I didn't have a chance to consult with Rebecca.
Oh
We're
boy.
not going to worry too much about where teams rank in the standings this week because it's week 2, and where people are in the standings is mainly the 2-0 teams are at the top, the 1-1 teams are in the middle, and the 0-2 teams are at the bottom. So anything else seemed kind of redundant. Instead, I have a personal theory that I have. I've done absolutely no research to confirm or refute
Oh, these
this.
are the best theories. Okay.
Yeah. The theory is that a team who starts 2-0 and both of their opponents won their other games, so they are 1-1. Any team that can do that is destined for the postseason. Now, I looked at all the teams we cover. There are 4. Count them. One, two, three,
Okay.
4. Such teams. So we will be highlighting them through the podcast. I will also be highlighting any other teams who have defeated a team that have a victory already. So any team that has a start on their second level points already by week 2, I figures that's probably a pretty good sign. So that's what we're going to highlight this week. Okay, anything else before we get started, Rebekah?
I could give you a snapshot into the figure skating world this week.
Ooh, I missed something. Could be. I
Oh
haven't heard
no,
anything.
we're just getting fired up. They're starting to show off their programs. A couple weeks ago, there was a competition that was just for singles to get their programs out there and start competing for Olympic spots. And this week was the pair skating event, mainly again just preliminary competitions to get points on the board and start vying for Olympic positions. But the highlight I want to share with you is that somebody in the pairs group pulled off a backflip, which is always exciting to see. There's been a couple men that have done backflips in competition. You might have remembered a couple years ago or last year. I don't know. I talked about it. It's not
That's that's just
illegal.
newly legal. That's just newly legalized, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
You
not
get no
illegal
points
per
for it,
se.
but
It's frowned upon. You don't get points, but they don't I don't think they penalize you for it really. Or if they do, it's so incredibly minor that people do it anyway because it's fun. But this is a pair skate, so there's two of them. So what they did instead of just doing a good old backflip is they had the guy of the pair, they did an assisted backflip. So he basically tossed the woman like backwards and she did a flip and then landed. And it was fun to see. Just wanted to share that with the world. There might be more types of backflips entering figure skating.
I kind of like that. And tying that back in of our introduction, I believe the backflip was first done by a Mr. Scott Hamilton of the United States, who skated at Bowling Green back
He
in
sure
the day.
did.
So
Yeah. So if anyone wants to keep an eye on the Olympic routines, this pair will definitely be there. It was a Canadian pair, Stellato Dudek and Deschamps, I believe. And they
heard
won,
of
I think they won Worlds or came very close to the podium in Worlds last year, which was remarkable because the woman of the pair is like 42, and that's unheard of
ooh,
in figure skating. She's out there doing backflips.
yeah,
So
I've heard of the Dudek. Okay, I've heard of her then. Okay. Go back to
Deanna
my
Stellato Dudek.
my less extensive knowledge of figure skating than yourself, of course. There was a Russian lady, I believe her first name was Irina. I don't remember her last name. I think she had a couple because she was in the like won the pairs title like in 4 straight Winter Olympics, and I was usually with a different partner every year,
Mm-hmm.
a younger guy who she was always married to at the time. Um, so her last name changed a lot. She was good, but she mainly always got young, strong guys to do all the flipping her
Yeah.
around and stuff. So
Maybe Irina Rodnina
that sounds right. Yes, I think it was 4 straight
competed
Olympics if I remember right.
1972 to 1980. 72,
It's only
76.
three
That's
then.
only three.
Okay,
Only pair skater to win 10 successive world championships
and successive. Ooh,
and three golds at each of the
three
ones she went to.
Olympics and different partner and many different partners along the way.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Anyway, back to football.
Back to football. We're going to start our way out in Division One, Region Two, as usual. We have 2 teams in Region Two, Troy and Finley. Both teams lost last week. Both teams won in Week Two. So
Hmm.
moving up in the standings this week, both teams. Number 6, Troy. Oh, and by the way, if I give you a ranking, that is where they stand in the computer points in their region this week. That is not like an AP poll or anything like that.
Okay.
So this week, Troy is number 6 in their region. They beat 1-1 Xenia. Number 7 Finley beat 1-1 Lima Senior. This coming week, Troy, I have them as easily beating winless West Carrollton this week. Finley has a tougher game, but I have them favored against Holland Springfield, who's 2-0. So a lot of computer points available for Finley if they can come through this week. Moving down to Division 2 in Region 8, we have that aforementioned Lima Senior who lost last week. They are ranked number 11 right now. Unfortunately, all 3 teams we follow in this region lost this week. Lima Senior has a tough game against 1-1 Marion Harding coming up. Sydney, currently winless. They are an underdog again this week. While winless Piqua, they have a very interesting game. They play undefeated 2-0 Greenville. And as we mentioned last week, Greenville had lost 22 straight games coming in this year, a 2-0 start for Greenville.
That's a pretty
Fantastic.
nice change for them.
And I'm sure we'll talk about them a little more here, a couple regions from now. And actually, we're going to mention them here shortly in our
Scores of the Week
segment.
Oh, good.
By the way, Rebekah, no theme that you have to guess this week.
Ah, dang.
I couldn't
Makes it
find
fun.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The first score of the week, we're going to start with Urbana 47, Mechanicsburg 43. Not a lot of defense in that one, apparently.
High scoring game.
Mechanicsburg led 43-40 with 3 minutes left when the Urbana defense stopped them on a 4th down and 3 play at the Urbana 13-yard line. Urbana took over on down, scored a touchdown with 1:01 left to claim the victory. Not only high scoring, but also close right to the end. Our second score of the week, Greenville, who we just mentioned a little bit ago, defeated West Carrollton 30-0. That's 2 wins in a row for the Green Wave after, as we mentioned before, their 22-game losing streak coming into the season. Greenville actually reached 30 points before halftime and had a running clock the entire second half.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
Greenville has not been a stranger to the running clock the last couple of years.
Yeah, but
They
probably
have been
not
a
on the winning
stranger
side
to.
of it.
Oh, absolutely. That is that has not happened to them in a long time, that they were on the winning side of a running clock. Now, we're not proclaiming them state champs yet. West Carrollton is not exactly known as a very tough team this year, but that Pickle game will tell us a lot more this week, I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
And our third score of the week, Defiance 21, Ottawa Glandorf 20. Defiance wins their second straight 1-point victory of the season. And if it seems to you people like we're mentioning Defiance winning 1-point games a lot, I looked it up. They have been involved in 6 1-point games during their last 22 regular season matchups. Always go to see Defiance if you want to see a tight game.
Maybe don't if you want to keep your blood pressure low.
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember a long, long time ago, 1989.
1989. Okay.
My wife-to-be was afraid I was going to have a heart attack during the game. I hate to think of what my blood pressure was during that game, but it was up there.
Oh no.
But I survived. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
At least as far as I'm concerned. Don't know about the rest of the world, but as far as I'm concerned, thank goodness.
I mean, I'm pretty grateful you lived to birth me, but
Yeah, you should probably be thankful for that too. So, all right, that's our scores of the week. Moving on to Division 3, we'll start with Region 10. We have our 5 WBL teams here, 3-1 and 2 loss this week. Number 3, Wapakoneta. Number 6, Defiance. We just mentioned Defiance. They each improved to 2-0. Both teams, their week 1 victims, won this week, so they both get some second level points.
hey, nice.
Now, these two teams face off at Defiance this week. So the winner gets a ton of computer points. The loser, no shame in losing that game, right?
Right.
Now, at the other end of the spectrum, St. Mary's and Salina are both winless, and they both play each other this week. So just the opposite for them. The winner at least gets some computer points. The loser's 0-3 and just lost to a 1-2 team, and that's not a good sign. That's a tough start to the season for whoever comes out on the short end of this matchup. That leaves us one team in the middle, 17th ranked Lima Shawnee. They're 1-1 now. They put a running clock on Kenton this week. They get a chance to earn their first second level points this week when they play 1-1 Elida. I would think we mentioned this in our preview things when it comes to these WBL teams. These what look to be middle of the road WBL teams. They're
Mhm.
both 1-1 right now, so I guess that's kind of the definition of middle of the road right now.
For week 2, yeah.
So the winner of these games are going to be very critical. Don't want to lose this one. We'll keep an eye out on that one on next week's podcast. In Region 12, unsurprisingly, number 2, Tip City Tippecanoe earned themselves some second level points when the team they beat in week 1, Bellbrook, won this last week. Like I said, it's a little early to put too much faith in computer projections yet. That old Drew Pasteur, I think, once said that he doesn't really trust them till week 6, till we have 5 weeks of the season in. However, if you just look ahead for fun,
Just for
Tip City,
fun, not for
just for fun,
stats.
Tip City is favored by 4 more touchdowns every game the rest of the season.
Oof. Wow. Okay.
So, just for fun. But now at number 3 in this region, Greenville. Boy, I bet it's been a long time since you've seen a number 3 in front of Greenville's name in the computer points. I'm rooting hard for Greenville this year. They're my team of the season, I think, right now. I'm behind the green wave 100%. Pure bandwagon jumper here.
Let me just mark that down for future recordings.
Especially since they never play Minster. So,
Exactly.
Greenville's victim in week 1 was Eaton. We said they had a pretty good record the last several years. They also won this last week. So Greenville gets some second level points already. We mentioned the old Drew Pasteur computer before, and I didn't say it before, but this early year, it's still pretty biased towards last season.
Mm-hmm.
You see that in Greenville. The computer's not convinced on Greenville. It has the Green Wave as the underdog in 7 of their final 8 games. I'm going to disagree with the computer right now. I think they're on a roll.
You think the first 2 games is enough momentum to overset the previous experience?
I'm not saying they're winning 10 games. I'm saying they're doing better than 1 of the last 8. How about that?
Okay.
I got a feeling they have some confidence there, and that's something they haven't had the last few years. That leaves us with Bell Fountain, number 14 in the rankings, 1-1, but they suffered a 34-point loss last week. So a tough week 2 for Bell Fountain. See if they bounce back here in week 3. All right, before we move on to Division 4, it's time for our
Team of the Week.
Rebekah.
Who could it be?
I don't think this team has ever been our team of the week before. I am proclaiming Lima Bath because they defeated St. Mary's 56-36 to start the season with a 2-0 record. In this game, both teams scored 28 points in the second half, but Bath led 28-10 at halftime, held on for the win. This was the first time Lima Bath has defeated St. Mary's since 2015.
Big win for them. Yeah.
So they had lost 9 straight times against the Rough Riders. Big win for Lima Bath this week.
Now, all respect to Lima Bath, but I'm kind of surprised you didn't make Greenville the team of the week with how hard you're riding their bandwagon.
Well, if I remember right, we made them the team of the week last week.
Can't do it 2 weeks in a row. Gotta spread the love.
So maybe next week.
There you go. Not consecutive terms.
So the reason, of course, we had our team of the week segment there is we are moving to Division 4, Region 14, and Lima Bath is sitting there. But first, we're going to talk about number 2, Van Wert. They are our first team to have both victims earn a win in their other games. So thus, this is the first test of my untested theory. Check it out. Will Van Wert make the playoffs? My theory says yes, they will. But as I said, totally untested, unchecked, unresearched. Those are the best kind of theories, actually.
Yeah, the fun is doing the testing after you set the hypothesis.
Yeah, so I should keep this one in hand, and we'll see at week 10 how well these 4 teams do. By the way, spoiler alert, one of the 4 teams is Marion Local. I feel pretty good about that.
That feels kind of like a lock.
My theory says the Van Wert Cougars should be playoff bound. Drew Pasteur's computer says, It has Van Wert as a 69% chance to make it into the postseason. But again, very early for the computer there. We'll see what it thinks in a week or two. However, this week they play number 4 Lima Bath, and a win over Bath would certainly change the computer's mind a little bit, not to mention provide a lot of second level computer points.
Absolutely.
And by the way, the computer is also impressed with Lima Bath, I think because they defeated 1-1 Indian Lake in week 1. The computer likes Indian Lake. And so did my man Brody, if you remember from the preview podcast. So,
Right.
to see Lima or Indian Lake come back with a win here this week. We'll be talking about them later on, I'm sure. We have 3 1-1 teams in this region. Number 17, Ben Logan, has an interesting game against 1-1 Urbana this coming week. We'll just say I don't want to pick a winner in that one. I kind of like
feels
Urbana.
A little unlikely, yeah.
Yeah, but we also have number 11 Napoleon and number 11 Elida, but they're both underdogs this week, so a good upset for either one of those two would help them out quite a bit towards keeping one of those top 12 spots in the region. And finally, we have Ottawa, Glandorf, and Kenton, another matchup of 2 0-2 teams this week. So again, that means an 0-3 start for one team and a very minor computer point victory for the other. So I don't know if I'd call it a must win, but loss would not be very nice for either one of those two teams. Down south in Division 4, Region 16, we find Urbana is 14th in the rankings. We also have Tip City Bethel, who's number 18 right now. Both teams are 1-1. Both have a win over a 1-1 team so far. Urbana's victory was over a slightly larger school, I believe.
It should have been Mechanicsburg, right?
Yes, it was.
Which is its own kind of accomplishment. They're typically pretty good.
Yes, it is. Yep. Both of these teams, however, are underdogs this coming week. So if we see one of them at 2-1 next week, that means they probably have a pretty good win. Start looking at them as potential playoff teams if they can pull off a win this week. Division 5, Region 18. I tell you, Rebekah, this region gets more boring every week.
In a good way.
In a good way. Number 6, Liberty Center has a win over 1-1 Pemberville Eastwood. And there's another team that is favored by 4 or more touchdowns the rest of the season. Now, number 7, Liberty Benton, they've defeated 2 winless squads, but they are favored by 5 or more touchdowns every game the rest of the season.
That's a little wild.
It is a little wild. So
5 or more touchdowns favored?
Yeah. So I don't expect a whole lot of drama from our Liberty region until playoff time.
Yeah, unless something goes wrong for either of those teams.
And it could well happen. It's very early. Very early. Moving down to Region 20 in Division 5. Versailles is number 2 and St. Paris Graham number 3. Both are undefeated. Versailles beat 1-1 Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy last week and beat them quite handily, actually. Graham defeated 1-1 Kenton Ridge in week 1, so both have some second level points. Both are heavy favorites against winless opponents this coming week. At number 8 in the standings, we have undefeated Arcanum. They had a nice win over Tri-County North last Friday. They're also a big favorite this week. Also at 1-1, we have number 17, Indian Lake. They are also expected to be a winner this Friday. Who else do we have here? I see Miami East ranked number 11 right now. Their week 1 victim won last week. They got them some second level computer points. Got them. Look at that grammar, baby.
Yeah, grammar's evolving. Practical language doesn't really follow literary rules.
Yeah.
I was more laughing at your... Yeah.
We'll see if that works here at the house if I pull that off. And the certain person I live with may not approve. But where are we at? Miami East. Oh, yes. Underdogs this week. They play against 2-0 Springfield Northwestern. So tough game for Miami East. Big computer points if they pull the upset, however. West Liberty Salem fell to 0-2. We have not seen that very much through the years, Rebekah.
No, we were anticipating them to do fairly well, so hopefully they're just in a small slump.
They have a chance this week to recoup some of those computer points if they can get a win over 2-0 Cedarville. 0-2 Milton Union, however, expected to stay winless as they face 2-0 Dayton Oakwood. Very tough game for Milton Union. Okay, Division 6, Region 22. A lot of action at the top of this region. We'll start with number 2 Bluffton. They are our second team to have defeated 2 1-1 squads on the season. Back to Drew Pasteur's computer. It does say Bluffton is likely to be in the playoffs. They are favored by 4 more touchdowns the rest of the season, except they have a week 6 game against Lima Central Catholic that's supposed to be a close game. And I would tend to agree with that assessment. Lima Central Catholic's looking good so far this year. What else do we have? Sherwood Fairview's number 1 at the moment in this region. Number 4 is Patrick Henry. They each have 1 win over a 1-1 team. Both face tough opponents this week. Sherwood Fairview plays 1-1 Bryan. Patrick Henry faces a winless squad, but it is Columbus Grove. And I'm not going to let an 0-2 record convince me to thinking Columbus Grove is going to be an easy victory, because I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, I don't really either. Got a lot of unfounded confidence about this season.
Let's see. Moving down the list here, we have 2-0 Paulding, ranked number 7. They have defeated only winless opponents so far. And that also goes for several 1-1 teams in this region, such as number 12 Van Buren, number 12 Hicksville, number 14 Convoy Crestview, and number 14 Spencerville. Paulding has the best chance of these teams, in my opinion, to rectify that situation and get some second level points. They are playing 1-1 Delphus Jefferson this week, and Paulding ought to be favored in that game, I would think. Although Jefferson had a nice win against Parkway last week, so who knows? We have another 1-1 team, Allen East, currently 18th in the standings. They travel to Indian Lake, so it seems likely they might fall to 1-2. I'm still high on the Indian Lake bandwagon myself.
Yeah, you've been touting them pretty well this week, so.
Anyway, that leaves a few other teams, Tenora and Ayersville and Parkway and Riverdale, as currently winless. Most of them, I think, are going to stay winless this week. Riverdale has the best chance. They host 1-1 Arcadia, and I would think that ought to be about a who knows, anyone can win type of game. So even south to Region 24 of Division 6, our 2 MAC teams each have a win over 1-1 squads. Number 3 Anna defeated Spencerville. Number 5 Coldwater has that week 1 win over 1-1 Valley View. Coldwater lost by a touchdown to Clinton Massey this week, but that's Clinton Massey looks to be a very tough team. That's not going to hurt anyone's thoughts about Coldwater too much. Coldwater's favored at home this week against 2-0 Fort Recovery. If they get that win, that's a lot of computer points coming in for this early in the season, at least. Anna, it has a much more intriguing game, in my opinion, not just because it's against my 1-1 Minster squad, but Anna beat Fort Laramie this week by 8 points, the exact margin that Minster beat Fort Laramie the week before.
Okay.
Games at Minster, and Minster has won the last 3 matchups of these teams. So even though Anna has the better record and is basically thought more highly of by the old Drew Pasteur computer also, I think that's a very intriguing matchup myself.
They've got the division edge as well.
Yes, they are.
Not as
Division higher.
influential down here in the lower divisions as you'd think,
I would agree.
but it's still something.
And that does feel like, just looking at the early MAC standings,
Mhm.
that does look like a game where the loser is going to have to be in a fight to work their way up into the top 12 of their region before the end of the season. There's a lot of tough games in that MAC conference for both of these teams coming up. All right, moving to the other teams, we have Tri-Village, currently number 4 in the standings. Defeated 2 winless teams so far, and they play a third one this week in Tri-County North. So the challenges for Tri-Village come a little later in the season, I believe. At number 9, Mechanicsburg, a big favorite to reach 2-1 this Friday. Wow, at number 14, Lima Perry has a much tougher game. Although I still think they ought to be favored. They're playing winless Pioneer North Central, who just started football up about, 3 years ago, if I remember right? 0-2 to start the year. So I would think Lima Perry ought to have a decent shot at that game. Our 3 winless schools, Covington, Triad, Troy Christian, unfortunately, all big underdogs in their quest to pick up their first win of the season this week. So if one of them does, I'm sure we'll highlight that right here. Huh?
Am I wrong to think that Covington has typically done fairly decently in the past?
Covington, for decades, was a huge power in the area. And then they fell on some hard times. And they've had a couple of really bad seasons, and their number of players on their roster dropped a little bit. I've been hearing that supposedly the numbers are coming back up this year.
Okay.
We shall see. It has not translated into any wins yet, but we shall see how the season goes along. I would think they'll grab a few before they're done. Enough to make the playoffs or not? No, that's something we'll worry about in a few weeks here, I guess. Heading down to Division 7, we'll start with our monster Region 26. Here we find our third team, who has 2-0, and both their victims has generated second-level points for them by winning a game. That would be Ada, who's currently 6th in the standings.
Ada.
Not a team we've seen near the top the last couple of years.
Yeah, I wouldn't have predicted that one.
They defeated both Upper Soto Valley and Waynesfield Goshen, teams who generally win a
Pretty
good
good
number
teams.
of games each year. Yeah. So a great start to the season for Ada. We also have number 1 Lima Central Catholic, number 3 Lipsick, number 5 Ridgemont, each 2-0. Each have one team they defeated, won their other games, so they have a few second-level points. That's probably why they're up there in the top 5 in the region right now. Our final 2-0 team, number 9 Arlington, defeated 2 winless squads so far. They host Ada this week, so I guess we'll get a lot better read on both Ada and Arlington after this matchup of 2-0 squads. We do follow one team that is 1-1. That would be number 10 Waynesfield Goshen, who defeated a 1-1 Mississinawa Valley team back in week 1. Once again, keep an eye on them. They travel to Upper Soto Valley this week. A win over Upper Soto Valley, be 2-1. We're thinking they're looking pretty good. A loss, drop them to 1-2, and we start to wonder a little bit, huh?
Making our decisions early.
Yeah, that's an interesting matchup in my opinion already this early in the season. That leaves us with 5 other 1-1 squads whose the team they defeated was winless. That would be Delphus Jefferson, Pandora Gilboa, who are both ranked 12th, Arcadia, and Upper Soto Valley. What are they ranked? Arcadia and Upper Soto Valley. You would think I would know, wouldn't you? 14th.
Upper Soto Valley's in 14. Yeah.
Oh, and also Macomb. And all 3 of those teams all tied for number 14. It was right there, Rebekah. I just missed it. I don't know how to read. No,
well, your eyes are fighting against you.
We'll go with that, yes. That's as good of excuse as any. That leaves us with Columbus Grove, Toledo Christian, Hardin Northern, Antwerp, Delphus St. John's, Corey Rawson, and Van Loo, who are winless in this region. That's 7 teams who have started 0-2 that we follow. Columbus Grove, they are traveling. They're not just playing Patrick Henry. They are traveling to Patrick Henry.
Ooh.
If they lose that one, I can't remember how long ago it's been since Columbus Grove has started the season 0-3.
Yeah, it'll be a weird experience for sure.
Patrick Henry, that would be an upset.
Tough game.
Patrick Henry.
Yeah.
Of the other teams, I like Antwerp's chance to get a win against Hilltop this week. Corey Rawson and Hardin Northern play each other. So one of them get into the win column this week. And that brings us to our final region here in Division 7, Region 28. We have 5 teams that have started 2-0 this season. Of those, Marion Local, both the teams they defeated are 1-1 right now. In fact, that Indiana team that they defeated in week 1 absolutely destroyed their opponent in week 2. Uh,
Does Marion Local still get second level points for that being an Indiana team or
yes, they do. Yes,
okay,
they do.
good.
It works a little different for out-of-state teams. I guess it gets a little difficult to track the exact Ohio equivalent division size of every team that an Indiana school or any other out-of-team school would play out of state. So what the state does is they assume every school that team plays is the same size as they are. Last week, number one, St. Henry and number two, Fort Recovery, each took the scalp of an opponent who was victorious in week one. St. Henry hosts Marion Local this week in a game that will
Oof.
do much to determine who gets, in my opinion, both teams are playoff bound, but this could determine who gets a first round bye.
As always, it'd be something for them to beat Marion Local. It'd be almost bigger than a playoff win.
It would be the our biggest early season game in the area, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, we have New Bremen at number 7 and Sidney Lehman at number 9. They each have victories over two winless opponents. So not quite as impressive, but still gets them up there in the standings. Nothing changes for these teams as New Bremen plays 0-2 Parkway and Sidney Lehman plays 0-2 Fort Laramie this week. We have 3 1-1 teams. Number 13, Miss Cinema Valley. Number 14, Ansonia. Number 15, Minster. As I mentioned before, Minster has a game of potentially massive playoff implications for both teams when they host 2-0 Anna. Mississinawa Valley and Ansonia are both heavily favored this week, so look for both of them to be 2-1 next week, and looking forward to some tougher matchups in the future weeks.
Now, I heard Minster had a pretty tough loss last week. Are you not worried about that going forward for them?
I have no idea how that loss says anything about Minster this week. They played a Columbus Afrocentric school who's Division 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
Yeah, I forget which.
How did they get on our schedule?
Because Minster needed someone willing to play them.
I guess. Yeah, wow.
But now Afrocentric in general, not that great of a team, but they had 2 players who are going to Bowling Green to play on the football team there next year, and they were incredible. And there was another guy who was also pretty good. And those 3 guys were just far too athletic for anyone on Minster to keep up with.
Ew,
Minster
okay.
actually jumped out 20-8 and then gave up 40 unanswered. Yeah, there we go. That's what it was. And an interesting thing, Columbus Afrocentric made all 6 2-point conversions they tried.
They tried 6 to start with?
And made them all, yes.
Jeez,
Which
okay.
makes you think anytime they had a 3rd or 4th down and only about 2 yards to go, they probably felt pretty good about their
They
chances of
probably
picking it up.
felt pretty good. Dang.
So, again, I have no idea what that says about Minster or not. I do not expect to see athletes like that on the rest of their schedule this year.
No.
Although I'm told the Anna quarterback is awfully close to being that kind of athlete. So we shall see and report back here next week. We have 3 teams who lost in the opener, and they all picked up loss number 2 last week. That would be Riverside, Bradford, and Fort Laramie. Bradford is a huge underdog this week. Riverside has a little better chance against 1-1 Spencerville. Fort Laramie feels like a coin flip game as they host 2-0 Sidney Lehman. Just by the record, you would favor Sidney Lehman. Most people I hear seem to agree with that. I've seen the results of a lot of Fort Laramie Sidney Lehman games through the years, and that just feels like that's a game that could go either way. But give the edge to Sidney Lehman going in, I guess. Fort Laramie's 0-2, but they did play Minster and Anna, so not an easy start to the schedule for Fort Laramie. And before we get out of here, Rebekah, that leaves us with just the 8-man football.
Woo.
We now have 2 league games played in the Northern 8 Conference, one in week 1 and one in week 2 here. So at the moment, Sandusky, St. Mary, and Holgate sit atop the conference standings with 2-0 records and with 1 win in conference play. Neither of those 2 teams plays a league opponent this week. There are a couple of games. Conference play accelerates with 2 games this week and a full slate of 4 conference games in week 4. So 2 weeks from now till the 8-man football conference really gets going full steam ahead. And that's it, Rebekah. That's our week 2 wrap up. Next week.
That's it. Okay.
Next week, we start worrying more about where people are at in the standings as we start to get a little more second level points rolling in and figuring out who's in the top 4, who's in the top 8, and who's in the top 12, right?
We can feel a little bit more confident projecting, I would say so. A little bit
It
better
gets a
with our
little better
judgments.
after this week. Yep.
Yeah.
So, bad news, Rebekah. Not only did I miss our podcast recording date and we're late, I also still have not worked on getting the iHeartRadio and Amazon Music set up yet. I have hopes for next week. We'll see.
Okay. I just need to come up and sit down at your computer, don't I?
Yeah, I just need to come up and sit down at my computer.
Yeah,
It just
that would
hasn't
do it too.
So, Rebekah, why don't you toss us out of here?
All right, I'll toss us out of here. This was Bruce Monnin's Computer Points with Bruce and Rebekah Monnin. That's both of us. You can
It
rate
is
and
both of
review
us.
this. If you couldn't tell, you can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen. If you have any comments or questions, you can send them to us by email by sending it to bdmonnin@nktelco or submitting on X or Twitter to @BruceMonnin, where it may be used on a future episode. If you'd like us to share your name or not, let us know. Or you can place your thoughts in the comment section of our YouTube page. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. We love seeing those engagement numbers go up, especially since Spotify tells us that now. It's very fun. As
Went
you
up 3
heard,
this week on Spotify.
we went up 3 on Spotify this week.
Yes, we did.
We'll keep bugging on Dad here to work on the iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, but again, we need time to sit down and work on things. But as always, you can find the stats, you can find the YouTube videos, you can find the podcast by searching for Bruce Monnin's Computer Points. It's not a creative title, but it is very findable.
Oh, yes. It's not hard to find whatsoever. Well, by the way, before we leave here, I've discovered something here this last couple of weeks, Rebekah.
Oh boy.
They've discovered having a hobby that takes up most of your time is a very good thing until something else comes up and suddenly you don't have most of your time available to devote to your hobby.
Yeah. That's the way of things.
I looked it up. I have 3.5 miles on my bicycle in the last 2 months.
Ooh. Yeah, life happens. I don't know what to say. When it happens, and it doesn't have much sympathy for your bicycle stats.
No. Good news is I got my bicycle back from the shop. The guy wanted to know if I wanted to keep my used tire to show off to people how I was able to ride on that tire without it exploding and getting a flat. It had like hunks of rubber out of it all around the circle.
Remarkable.
So, hint for the future, if you ride your bicycle, look at your tires every once in a while and make sure the tread's not all gone and the rubber's not going away.
Maybe once or twice, yeah. All right, I need to get going, so I'll let you sign off.
All righty, and I will do that. And by the way, if you ever wander by through Minster, my grandson has informed me twice now. He looks out the window and says, "Where's the Bearcat?" And I say, "Oh, that's something else I have to get done. And besides, my ground is rock solid, and I don't think I can twist those little hooks into the ground right now." But anyway, if you ever want to see the home studio in Minster in the next few weeks, just at least by Oktoberfest, if you're driving through Minster and you see an 8-foot Bearcat in the yard, you'll know you found the right place. And with that, we'll let you go. Goodbye, grandson Jack. Bearcat will be up soon. So long, everyone.